Welcome to the second part of the tutorial Back to the Future title. It's Manuele here for eatatsplus.com, and now we can start. First of all, open Photoshop, use a CS5 version, and we need the DeLorean 3D model OBJ downloaded from the site, and extract here the content of the folder. Okay, DeLorean, open it and drag the DeLorean OBJ inside Photoshop. May take some moment to download the OBJ file, and once Photoshop have opened it, you can see there's a 3D model of a DeLorean, and you have to remember to switch to 3D from essential. Okay, right, and you have to see this panel, the 3D panel. Okay, and with this command you can you can move the 3D object, right, that. Okay, good. First of all, you have to change the canvas size to about 75 and 45 centimeter in pixel 226 and oh. Yeah, okay, about that, because we need a bigger screen. Here you can change the texture, clicking on to standard. As you can see, there's a greenish color. May I change it with a more metallic gray. Okay, maybe darker. Now we need to animate this 3D model, and to make that we need a timeline. You have to go on Window, Animation, and now you have your timeline. You can keyframe, for example, position, opacity, 3D object position, 3D camera position, etc. I will animate the 3D object position. First of all, we have to decide how long our animation is, and to make that, switch to After Effects, and I want that my car starts about here and ends here about 2 seconds. Okay, return to Photoshop, and now we can start. Here you can see 4 buttons. We will use only this one, the third one, Object Pan Tool. You can find it here. To the object, rotate, roll, pan, slide, and scale. The first position of the car is inside the text, and I have to slide the object back here, maybe smaller. Okay, I put it in the center of my composition, and moving 1 second and a half. Okay. Take 3D object slide tool, move it forward, with the pan tool move it here, maybe smaller. Not so much. Okay. Position it here and rotate it. No. Right. Rotate it this way. With just a couple of keyframes. Rotate it more and move it so just closer. Rotate. Move it about 2 seconds. Use rotation tool. Adjust the position. It's on that side. Okay. I wanted that my car goes in front of the camera and obscure it, and to make that I need to position it in front of the monitor. Okay, I need to center. Okay. Just a couple of frames after I move it across the camera. If you want to launch a preview, you have to click on play and just wait. Hitting play, you can see the result. That it is not perfect because you have to change and modify many times the keyframe to obtain a smooth movement. I switch to my previous project. Oops. Here, okay, and after just a little work, this is my result. Okay, the car starts slowly and accelerate about here. Okay, right. Now we have to export the animation to After Effects, and to do that we need to go to File, Export, Render Video. You can choose the name of the sequence. I will export as an image sequence. I use an image sequence as a PNG, not JPEG or other, because we need the alpha channel, and we can find it only in Photoshop PNG target if, and PNG is more lighter than the other format. Choose PNG. I choose my frame rate that must be the same as the After Effects composition. Okay, I select the folder, my tut obj, and okay, Okay, I selected a range, not all frames, but currently selected frames, because we need only this portion of timeline, and click render. Once the render is finished, you have a PNG sequence. You can see the car is on alpha channel without background, as we need. Right. Now return to Adobe After Effects, double click on the pin, and click on the first frame of the sequence and import as footage, clicking on PNG sequence. Open it. We can see it's at 25 frames per second, and now I can drag it on my composition and move it where I need it, just after the reflection of the blues. Here, and move it lower, just here. Now let's see a preview. Okay, looks good. Now we have to add the flare and just a bit motion blur. The problem now is that the motion blur, we can't create it in After Effects, just turning on the motion blur. We can simulate it using radial blur, animating the center here, center zoom about amount of 5, and we have to animate the center, pressing U to reveal the keyframe, and moving back and forward with arrows. Move it 10 frames before using shift page down. Move the center of the blur here in front of the car, and backward the center, backward here, backward here, and the beginning here. Maybe increase the amount, let's see, full resolution. Let's do 10, 15. Okay, 15 is good. When the car appears here in the center of the title, I want to add a flare and a kind of displacement here, like a temporal port. And to do that, I need to create a new adjustment layer, add a ripple, and my the center is right, and I move it here where the car start at the keyframe of the radius about 20, and down the wave height, and okay, in this way. Move it back 2 frames, set the radius 0, then move after about 5 frames and set the radius to 0. Just a little deformation. Okay, and move the adjustment layer down the DeLorean. Change the name DeLorean. Okay, so call it ripple, and you can use if you have the Video Copilot optical flare. Now I just use a simple flare inside After Effects because everyone can have it. I type flare, yes, generate lens flare. Okay, create a new solid, new black solid. Hit OK, make size. Hit OK, add the lens flare. May change it to 35mm prime. Amount of the brightness about 138, and changing the mode from normal to add, and moving the center of the flare here down the DeLorean, and may change the color of the flare. I will use the curve. I want it more blue. Pushing down red. Okay, it's more bluish, and maybe more contrasted, not so much. Okay, right, so the project. Now we are to animating the car, and to do that, move it here, zoom in, using the opacity and scale. Oops. Opacity and scale. Okay, right. Move it here just a couple of frames after the beginning, and set the keyframe at the beginning, and set the opacity to 0, and the scale about 30. We have to change the pivot of the layer. Just here. Okay. Right. Now animating the flare brightness. Just just a couple of frames before, set it to 0, and a couple of frames after, set it to 0. Okay. Now we have to add the car lights, the car front lights, and maybe we change name to the Porta there. Maybe hide it and also the ripple. Okay. And create a new black solid. I call it right lights. Add a lens flare with 105 millimeters prime. Change the blending mode to add. Moving it here, I changing the flare brightness to 30. Right, and keyframe the flare center. Hit U to reveal the keyframe. Move it backward as a couple of frames. Okay. Here. Here. Now we have to change the flare brightness. This brightness is right, maybe. Adjust it a little bit. Okay. Keyframe flare brightness. Moving it here and increasing 60%, moving at the end and set it to 80%. Maybe more, 100. And now we have to do the same thing for the other lights. I'll back here in a moment. Here I am. I had done the same thing for the other lights, but as you can see, oh, this way. Okay. You need to animate also the fading of flare brightness. Keyframe, move it back about 2 seconds and set it to 0 and also to 0. Okay, and also at the end you can just move it. Now let's take a look at the entire animation. Okay, not so bad. The next step is to add a back flare, and to do that create a new solid. I call it back right light. It's okay. Add a lens flare, maybe good the default setting. I change it the blending mode to add, maybe more red, add curve, and increase the red curve, the brightness by 50%, and you have to keyframe for every frame the right backlight, and we'll see here in a moment. I have moved the center of the lens flare in the right position. I duplicated it, and I make it the same thing for the other lens flare, and now as you can see the two lens flare are in the right position for the right and for the left. Now here I want that the car accelerate, and to make that I increase the brightness in this point. Maybe there. Keyframe the flare brightness, move forward maybe 2 frames, set it to 80, and the same thing for the right light. Set the keyframe, forward, set to 80, and maybe more than 80, 90, and 90. Okay, and increase the light at the end of the animation at 130 and 130, because if the car move through the camera, the light increase because it's nearest than before. Looks very good. The last thing is to add lighting on the front of the car, because if you remember in the film when the car is flying there's some lighting, and to do that I need to create a new solid, new black solid. I call it lighting. Click on size, hit OK, and generate advanced lighting. I'm changing the lighting type to two-way strike. The conductivity state 12, and under core settings set the core opacity to 100 and the core radius set 4, and add a wiggle, clicking Alt click on the stopwatch and typing wiggle 1, 3. OK. On the glow settings, glow radius 10,3, 38% on the glow opacity, and for the glow opacity, alt click and type wiggle 1,100 and make it to give it more random look. I had to change the glow color light blue. Okay. Now I have to track the 2 points of the lighting on the car this way, part 1 and part 2, and I'll back in a moment. Now I have linked the origin and the direction of the lighting to the front of the car, and as you can see it is quite perfect and created together. Okay. And as you can see, the starting and the ending of the lighting is are quite different, and I need to animate the core radius to make it more regular, and to make that I set stopwatch and the keyframe for the core radius, and I move backward. I set it to maybe 0.5, and 0.2 at the beginning. Now the lighting increasing during the movement, and keyframe also the glow opacity right here, right on 38%, and move it backward, set it to maybe 10. Okay. And changing the value of the wiggle to 50%. And now to composite better the lighting, we need to add some motion blur, and to do that we copy the radial blur from the DeLorean, paste it and change it to amount about 5, and cut the end of the layer, because when the car disappears, also the lighting has to disappear, and the same thing for the beginning of the layer. It has to start with the car, and here we are. I hope you appreciated this tutorial, and here is Emanuele for EATatsplus.com, and see you next time.